I'm really not sure what I'm going to be calling this video. Maybe something like my toxic relationship with fitness, which sounds a little bit dramatic, admittedly. But hey, whatever gets views, right? I did a lot of thinking last week because I didn't really get a chance to work out. Things were a little bit busy with work, and I'm in a place in my life where I'm able to sort of prioritize certain things and be okay with it, sort of be at peace. But last week, because it was a little bit stressful, I spent that downtime thinking of these last few years and my relationship with fitness. Because realistically speaking, the majority of my lifting career was centered around competing. I always had some sort of goal in mind. And because I had a goal and I wanted to work towards it, that's what really kept me in the gym. But when that element sort of gets removed for one reason or another, for me, opening a gym, life getting a little bit too stressful, quitting powerlifting, when that element of competition gets removed, I sort of feel lost. And maybe that's why I decided to take up running. Here's how I'm thinking about it. What do powerlifting and running have in common? They're both, to some degree, an individual based sport. Really, it is you versus you. You are trying to get stronger in powerlifting, you are trying to get faster in running. So, because running had a minimal barrier of entry, because it's just what we do every single day, walking, but doing it faster, because it had such a low barrier of entry, it just made a little bit more sense to me because I needed to keep some element of fitness in my life to remain sane. And with powerlifting, if you watched the last video, I had this idea planted in my mind that if I did not work out powerlifting based 4 or 5 times a week, 4 being the minimum, then I'm never going to get back to where I was before. And granted, that may forever be the case. Who knows? But now we're here. It's very different than a combo rack. Now, I didn't come to this realization until really sometime after the marathon. I know I said I spent all of last week thinking, why I've had this funk with just lifting, really. And not saying that the marathon was a bad thing. I'm so proud of myself for being able to run 26 miles. And me being proud of myself, that's actually a pretty rare thing because I have always been very, very hard on myself. I am my worst critic, as I'm sure a lot of lifters are. But I didn't realize that unless I have a competitive goal in mind, competitive meaning with myself, then I am going to be stuck in limbo. And I thought it was just exclusive to powerlifting, just thinking that I'm burnt out from the sport. I don't have the time to do it anymore. I spent 7 years of my life competing and getting as strong as I possibly could be. So I thought it was just a powerlifting problem, but it's just a competition problem because even after finishing up the marathon, I had no desire to run. And again, I feel like it's a pretty normal thing after you compete. But let me do this set first. Well, that's a good sign. Usually, if I could squat 2 reps comfortably without a belt, then it's going to be at least a decent day. But back to what I was saying. I feel like after you compete in something, that it's pretty normal to want to take some time off, but then you start to look forward to the next thing. But with running, because I'm still fairly new to it, I didn't know what to look forward to. Like, do I do an ultra marathon? Do I do an Ironman? Do I sign up for another triathlon? Because I did one last year, but now I'm just slowly realizing I need to get out of this mindset that I need a competition in order to push myself with my fitness. So, really, what I think needs to happen is I just need to start doing regular goal setting for myself. So, maybe get back to a 500-pound squat or a 600-pound deadlift or something along those lines. Because I'm in a place now where I think I could blend strength and cardio based goals. But, that's why we're programming the way we are right now. always going to love powerlifting, but it's not really going to be my primary focus. It's more just going to be secondary. See, sometimes all I need is just one squat session because this feels infinitely better than when I got under the bar for the first time in a long time 2 weeks ago. Um, so I'm not really sure what I'm going to do today. I had this program written out for myself, but I think I need to take a look and sort of reduce the overall amount of volume that I'm doing because let's be honest, life is busy for a lot of people, especially as you get older and you start to figure things out for yourself. But the program that I had for myself had me lifting 5 times a week and running 6 times a week. And maybe it's just because I didn't get a chance to lift or run at all last week. So I'm in this mindset of, oh, you got to reduce the amount of things that you're doing. And maybe that is the case. But I'm just going to do what feels good today. And that is growth. Just doing what feels good. Ooh. So, one thing definitely need to get reaccustomed to is the mobility demands of low bar squatting and sort of finding my shelf again. Because every time I went into the gym to do some sort of squat movement, meaning a back squat movement, it was always high bar. It was never low bar because I low barred for so long, and I don't care who you are. Low bar is uncomfortable, no matter how you put it. You could be doing it for years. You could be a pro at it. It's just uncomfortable. And high bar, it's a more natural movement pattern for a ton of people. So I was just so used to doing that I'm glad I'm still able to do low bar, but just finding that groove is still something that I'm going to have to work on. And it's probably going to take about a month or so before I'm fully comfortable with it again. But that was 175 kilos, 386 pounds. Look at me talking powerlifting again. But I would say that was about a 6.5 to a 7 based on the speed of it, but just how it felt. I'm really not too happy with it. So what I'm going to be doing is I'll probably just do 2 back down sets and then just hammer out a lot of belt squat, which I'm very, very excited to talk about. I'm listening to Wood by Alice in Chains, and that bass line at the very start of the song, I don't care what you're doing, whether it's a back down set or a top set, just got me feeling some type of way. And granted, these back down sets are belt really easy, but it's late in the day. It's going on, my watch is over there. It's going on 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I'm feeling a little bit tired right now. So any external motivation I could get, I'm going to take it. So just one more back down set. It's so weird training in silence. I found a new appreciation for it. I'm so used to loud music blasting at gyms all the time. But yeah, just training by myself in silence It's actually very nice. I recommend trying it every now and then. But I was talking with Pete Spence. Hi, Pete. I know you're watching this video, but I was talking with Pete this past weekend about the state of powerlifting, which I'm going to do a separate video on that because, I've had my own thoughts for quite some time, but because I wasn't really part of the community anymore, and I still feel very distant from it right now. But uh, it sort of got us on the topic of jokingly, when am I going to compete again? Or am I ever going to step on the platform again? And ever since I said that I was coming back to YouTube, I actually did receive a ton of DMs on Instagram, and it's quite insane the amount of people that want me to step back on a platform again, whether, this is shooting for one of the top ranks in the country, which that's a that's way out there. It's never going to happen for me. Uh, that ship has sailed. But long story short, there are a ton of people that want me to come back in really any degree, whether that's posting powerlifting content, being a competitor again, just something in powerlifting. And I know I said in the last video that I don't ever see myself stepping on a powerlifting platform again. And I still hold that thought because I don't want to set this lofty goal for myself saying that, this is the year I'm going to step back on the platform. And then, life decides to, excuse my French, but kick me in the nuts. And, all that progress or all that effort that I put in to get back on the platform is just stripped away from me. Now, granted, I've got significantly less external factors playing in my life now, so theoretically I can step back on the platform. But if I decide to do that, I'm probably not really going to make a big stink of it in the sense of I'm never going to tell people that I'm prepping for a meet. It's just going to be, here's my training. Am I going to get on a platform? I don't know. Because as I've been harping on this whole video, I want to step away or get away from needing a competition in order to push myself during training. Every single year that I've been involved in powerlifting, I competed at least once every single year. I think I competed about 8 or 9 times in total over the span of 7 years, which really isn't a lot because I only ever wanted to compete 1, maybe 2 times a year. I think there were 2 years where I competed 2 times each. And then obviously 2020, no one was able to compete during that time. So we had nothing to do but to train. I'll actually show some footage right now of me training in the basement because I do find it very funny that that used to be my home gym and now I have a much better home gym. Granted, it's not powerlifting centric, but it's something to get powerlifting work done in now. But like I was saying, I don't want to need a competition in order to push my training. And I think I just need to set personal goals for myself. So one thing that I really, really want to do, and then we'll get onto some belt squat because I'm just doing a lot of yapperoni and cheese right now. Look at me sounding like a Gen Z, right? But one thing that I really want to do one day is do a 500-pound deadlift, which I've done that already several times in my life, hundreds of times, straight into a 5-minute mile. So I don't think that there's too many people that have done this. Now, as us as powerlifters, we hear a 500-pound deadlift and we really don't think much of it because 700 today is the new 500. I think that's a really good way to put it. So to us, 500 pounds is really nothing, at least for the majority of experienced powerlifters. But to the average person, they see a 500-pound deadlift and they're like, oh my God, you're so damn strong, which, it's cool, I guess. But to us, we're sort of numb to it. But I don't know, just the thought of being able to do something relatively impressive strength wise into something really impressive cardio wise, I just think it's a really cool goal. Now, in order for that to happen, I do need to lose a pretty significant amount of weight, which again, let me do some belt squat and then I'll go into my experience with running so far because it's been all over the place. So let's just hit up some belt squat real fast. I am going to attribute a lot of the success that I had in powerlifting to the belt squat. Really, a belt squat of any kind. It doesn't have to be the mammoth belt squat in particular. I've used the Rogue Rhino. I've used a Pit Shark before, which you have to load that thing up a ton to get some use out of it. But the really great thing about a belt squat is that it's going to sound like a sales pitch because I work for Fringe, but this is just the reality of it. The great thing about belt squats is that it removes all the stress from your shoulders and your back that you would normally experience during barbell back squatting, especially during low bar squat. And the reason I say that I attribute a lot of my strength to the belt squat is because when it comes to low bar squatting, you're naturally going to have to lean forward a little bit just because of the bar placement and to keep it over your center of gravity. But with me, because my hips basically sit at my nipples, I need to lean more forward than most people. So my back would always be fried. Even if weight moves good, there's still a good amount of fatigue that my lower back experiences, which is why my squat programming usually looked like pushing intensity more and pulling back on volume, because the more I pushed volume, the more fatigue my lower back was going to experience. But to combat that, I would always get relatively high volume belt squats because, again, it's taking that stress away from your shoulders and your back. All the load is around your hips, and you're able to really hammer out your legs. It's not necessarily an isolation movement because let's be honest, it is a squat pattern. It's going to involve more than one muscle group in your lower body, but you're able to get a lot more squat volume without taxing the rest of your posterior chain as you would with a regular barbell back squat. Now, it doesn't really matter what belt squat you use. The Mammoth in particular is a lever-based belt squat, so it's going to pull you forward ever so slightly just because, again, it is on a lever. But even as heavy as I'm belt squatting, I don't feel that much of a difference versus using the Rhino belt squat by Rogue. So yeah, that's my sales pitch on a belt squat. It's a great tool. Even if you're not a power lifter, I would consider throwing some belt squat, if you have access to one, into your routine. Not everybody likes barbell back squats, and that's totally fine. If it doesn't align with your goals, then don't barbell squat. It's okay. However, I am a huge advocate for throwing in some loaded squat pattern into your training routine. Damn. Hold on. Believe it or not, that is the end of my training session, because the more and more research I do, if I want to implement a good amount of running into my weekly workout routine, then I really need to pay attention to the amount of overall leg volume that I am doing. And I am splitting that up between squat focus days and deadlift focus days. Obviously, today was a squat focus day. It's only going to be 6 sets. And my deadlift focus day is probably going to be either Thursday or Friday. I'd imagine it's going to be Thursday because Saturdays I have long runs scheduled, and deadlift days usually tax me a little bit more. And tomorrow morning, if I get up early enough, I am going to be doing a tempo run. So I don't want my legs to feel too tired for that. A little amount of fatigue is okay, to be expected, but I just don't want to be overly fatigued. Now, getting back to running, because I had mentioned before that one of the reasons I started running was for the sake of losing weight, which in theory sounds fantastic because, you're doing cardio for extended periods of time, and 10,000 steps a day, whatever you want to do, it's going to help you lose fat. And being that I didn't really have this idea of powerlifting anymore, I figured, why don't I just shed all that unnecessary fat that I had gained from powerlifting? I wasn't the fattest person ever, but I had a little bit of fluff from moving up to 83 kilos. So I really wanted to get down to about 74 kilos, 163 pounds. When you sign up for a marathon, when you're in marathon prep, that should probably be your last thought, losing weight. Because in order to remain fueled for all of your sessions, you need to be eating a lot. If not in a surplus, then at the very least, you need to be eating at maintenance calories. If you're eating in a deficit and you're just burning through fuel that your body doesn't have, all of your workouts are going to feel absolutely terrible. Now, mind you, I did lose a little bit of weight during marathon prep. I went from 184 to about 176, 177 by the time I ran the Austin Marathon. But this idea that I was going to lose like 20 or 25 pounds from doing a marathon, that's probably very crazy idea. So now that the marathon is over, I could get back in this mindset of doing maybe 20 miles, 20 to 25 miles a week. And that's a comfortable amount of volume for me. During marathon prep, I was doing anywhere from 45 to 50 miles a week. And because I was just running, I didn't feel terrible. But if I were to do that with lifting, then I'm just asking for an early grave. And I don't want to do that to myself. So that's probably where I'm going to have to balance things out a little bit, because I do have these numbers that I want to get back to strength wise, but it's been a very, very long time since I've been, I'll say like mid 160s, like 160, 165 pounds. It's been a very long time since I've been that body weight. And I don't know what my strength levels would be, especially since I'm very untrained right now. I still retained a good amount of strength, relatively speaking, but I am very, very untrained. So I just have to be careful. I have to not push myself to the point of quitting lifting and or running again. I just have to find a happy medium. Today was a good session. I'm doing essentially whatever I want to do, and I think I just need to do that. Have some semblance of a schedule. So if I'm doing a squat pattern on Monday and a deadlift pattern on Friday, then what am I going to fill, Tuesday through Thursday or even Saturday and Sunday with? As long as I have an idea of what body parts or movements I want to hit on certain days, and I feel like I could fill it with any amount of high intensity, low volume right now, complete my run days, and I'll be happy. As long as I'm able to be consistent with a schedule, that's all I could ask myself for right now. Lifting and social media have sort of this symbiotic relationship, because if you want to grow on social media, you need to post more. If you're a fitness content creator, in order to post more, you need to be able to stick to some schedule and lift more frequently. Otherwise, you're not going to have any content unless you're purely an informational based creator. But in the case of me, I'm not that smart. I just like to lift and I like to share those videos. So if I want one thing to work, then the other thing's going to have to work too. That's the video. I'm going to do my best to heal this toxic relationship that I have with lifting by trying my absolute hardest to not focus on having some sort of competition in mind to push myself during training. I just need to set personal goals for myself. So if that's a 500-pound deadlift straight into a 5-minute mile, so be it. What am I going to do in order to put myself in the best position to achieve that goal? And I think that's what a lot of people need to do. That's one of the things about powerlifting. People just don't lift for the love of the game. They want they want to compete at these overly produced meets, which is fine and everything, but are you lifting just because you love lifting? And I know that I have not been doing that. So I'm going to do my best to do that.